and he helps lead the rebellion. And they're because of the things that happen, they're forced to take up a base that was set up for the aliens on a station orbiting Earth, and of course a moon base. And they start working together to make it their home as much as they possibly can. And well, situations as life goes on, people start pairing off, and he meets a young woman who he's with, and he becomes a pilot. She's his observer. They fight in battles together because they're fighting to survive because the invaders keep returning. In one situation, well, they got fighters that can achieve hyperspace, and one battle he goes after this enemy to try to stop him in his ship, and as his enemy goes into hyperspace, his ship automatically goes into hyperspace, and they end up following him. And this situation happens, and he ends up getting his fighter ends up getting knocked out of hyperspace, and they realize they're like light years away from home. It's at regular speed. It's going to take them years, so they decided to set down a habitable planet so they can at least survive till his people can come in for a rescue. Well, it turns out it was a prison planet, had a prison facility on it, and they get taken prisoner, and he gets told by the administrator that they're guests, and they can do whatever they can, free to walk around the facility. But he ends up realizing that's a lie, that he gets tortured and beaten and stuff, basically to break them, because the administrator, of course, basically the whole prison facility is part of the alien species that invaded his home planet in the first place. The biggest way they try to break him is they make it because the woman he came as observer becomes his wife, and she's sitting there. They have her strapped to a table naked, and they have two aliens come in and they rape her and murder her right in front of him. He's strapped to a rack, and then when they do that and they kill him, it sets him off, and well, he becomes a liability. And well, make a long story short, he comes home. He comes, like I said, becomes a liability to his people, and because feels like he's more of a prisoner because of the way they treat him when he got home, that he decides he can't take it anymore, and he grabs a ship, a shuttle that has hyperspace capability, and he goes off and just goes off nowhere and doesn't know where to go, just to get away from there. And he ends up he gets recruited by an organization called the Teresian Syndicate, which is a fraternity of assassins. He becomes an assassin trained to kill, and he becomes pretty good. Well, to make a long story short, again, he gets he makes it back home. He decides he's not going to kill anybody ever again, at least not for somebody else. And well, they have situations. They go on, and they end up deciding to give TM his own starship, because they're building ships to take their to their new home planet, to find a new home planet to colonize, which they evidently do. And well, he does so much in his life. I mean, he's through my whole series. He's a warrior. Of course, I was in the army, and like I said, and that was part of who I based or who I put added to TM's personality, and through all that, he. Sorry for the pauses. I lose my train of thought real quick. But uh, he does a lot of things. He's a soldier, a pilot, an assassin. He becomes the leader of his people. He becomes a president of his people when they find their home planet. And of course, he meets so many people. His, his name he becomes a living legend where his name is known all over the universe. In fact, in one of books of the series, they had a space station was sent 4 million light years from their home. They end up the space station ends up in the middle of a war between two planets, and when the people from those planets find out about this, that they're the people of the main of TM, they decide to abandon their home planet, cease their hostilities toward each other, and help the station get home. Well, they all. Well, I shouldn't say too much because I don't want to give too many spoilers. But TM, he does so much. He leads rebellions, and he's a diplomat. He's a father, husband. He becomes a knight because he had rescue a queen, and he becomes a knight because one of his daughters becomes a queen, and of course, in time and future, he becomes a king himself because he marries a young woman who, when she was a young girl, she was almost going to be sacrificed, and he rescued her, and she developed feelings for him at a young age. And I kind of strayed because two of the times I made him look too much like made him look a little bit like a pedophile because when he was in the syndicate, the first woman he was with is like in her early teens, though she's bred to be with him. They do have a relationship, and of course another who's like the rebellion part. He meets a young girl who about the same as in her teens, and in time that a romance grows out of that. And, well, anyways, they're a good story. They're good books. I highly recommend them. Of course, they're my books, so obviously I'm going to recommend them. And I'm getting done with that for now. My next book is my superhero series, and the main character, who's also based on me but is kind of another side of me, which is the more generous side. If you know me, people who know me know I can be generous at times. And well, in this case, the main character's name is Chris Butler. His father's his grandfather started his own company, and his father, uncles, and aunts all helped run the company until the grandfather passed away. And of course, his father becomes like the CEO through his grandfather's successor, and in time he teaches his father teaches him how to run the business as the CEO because he had already named him the CEO. But as the story goes, starts off, Amy's a few scenes where, or a few parts where he's young, growing up, yeah, dealing with an ordinary life. Though his family's extremely rich, and he, I can't, he in time he meets the woman of his he is gonna marry, and well, they go to college together, and when first off, getting back to it, before he graduates high school, his parents are killed because of who his father is, and his father become, like I even put it in the book, he becomes popular, but with a lot of bad people, and one of those times, these bad people finally got their way, and they flat out terminated him. But but Chris here, he makes do, even though he's upset that his parents are killed. He makes do with the life he has, and of course, after he graduates college, he and his girlfriend, his fiancee, are setting up a life for themselves. But he wants to be a science, because he went to school for basically for science, or become an insectologist that studies flies. And well, his uh, fiance had a friend who's kind of, I want to say he's kind of obsessed with her, and well, he sets up an explosion in it because they have a lab they're working out of that was set up by Chris's father, and the explosion happens, and they basically give in superpowers. He's got he becomes a fly, like his powers are fly based, though he doesn't do a lot of things. I wouldn't go as far. He's not like the movie The Fly that came out in the mid '80s. He doesn't transform into a fly. He's basically more like the way I always tell people, he's like a toned down version of Spider-Man. He can't, basically, the only difference is he can't shoot the webs, which is okay. But his father, well, after he gets his powers, his father's best friend, who, a lot of this you have to read my books to really understand what I'm trying to say. His father, his best friend, was given a letter to say, watch over my son while he's basically protect him and stuff like that. And of course, the friend is in the military, is in the army. By this point he's a general, and he's getting ready to retire. And well, he's also being recruited by an organization called the Superhero Task Force, which is an organization designed to protect the superheroes of the world. And each country has their own different versions of it, and so forth. Well, he being in time, Chris as the Fly, he does a lot of good for his area. One thing I should make note is the area in both books. I can't talk. Well, it's based in Canton, Ohio, and of course some of the scenes might not be kind of centralized to the local area that I know as I know it, but it's creative liberty. But stops crime, and well, his after the accident, of course, his wife was in this fiance was in the same accident as was the friend who uh, basically did it to try to get rid of Chris. But all three ended up getting specific superpowers. Superhero. I have trouble talking, but and in the end, as time goes, the friend becomes his enemy, and he still is obsessed with his wife, and they face off from time to time during the whole series. Then, of course, him and his wife, of course, she gets powers. Well, basically explained as in the accident or the explosion, they was working with different type of chemicals, and well, because of the explosion, it caused the chemicals to mix. So the heat from the explosion caused a chemical reaction, and because he had flies he's working on, he had a terrarium of flies that he used to study. Some of the chemicals mixed with that. She had a Venus flytrap, which was her a prized possession for her, and of course she also demanded that he'd let her keep it in there since he had the flies in there, and they'd catch the flies and eat them, and she gets splashed. The chemicals mixed with the Venus flytrap gets splashed with her, and of course the friend ends up getting the chemicals mixed with plastic, and he ends up getting splashed with that. But I'll talk more about these two characters at a later date. Well, in the meantime, in time he find while he's getting married, he finally does get married to her and his fiance, and she finds out like not too long before, like a week before the wedding, that she's pregnant with their little girl. And as time goes, he finds out that, well, one thing though, he doesn't know this, but he doesn't find out to the day his daughter is born that he has two older sisters who happen to be twins. And they don't, at first they meet when right before because he doesn't know his wife doesn't go into labor yet, and he's out patrolling the streets like the superhero he is, and he happens to run into these two women who are beating up some men who are out there causing problems, and he goes and stops them, and he realizes there's something familiar about these two women, but can't quite put his finger on it except for they sound like his mom. And of course, he goes to the hospital. He finds out that his wife's went into labor, and they take her to the hospital. And he runs into this a set of twins who, and not long after they runs into them at the hospital. He finds out they're his twin sisters, and he finds out they're also superheroes. But I'll talk more about that in a future episode. And of course, they become a team, and the team starts growing, and then the one who's his father's best friend tells him that he's recruited into the superhero task force. I think I mentioned that. But he goes on, and they work together. The friend finds out he's being sent to talk to other superheroes from other areas to tell them, hey, we're all starting a team, and you're being recruited, and they're being recruited, and in time they have a training facility where they all meet. Of course, the whole team goes after the training is done. The whole team moves out around Chris so he could lead them. They work around that area or in this area. Now I want to kind of slow down or kind of draw this to a close. They go through a lot. There's so much going on. He actually meets a older superhero. I kind of hinted at who he was. I'm not gonna tell you. You'd have to read my book to find out. But in time, he goes through that. He has a he he has a son. I gotta quit doing that. I think I'll get better as time goes. But he has a son. They grow up. They become superheroes themselves. Well, in fact, his daughter gets married, and that's roughly about when I ended the first book, the first book in that series. And I started the second one, and I kind of did more backstory of a lot of the others. Try not to focused a bit on that. I added more superheroes, and I about a little over a month and a half ago, I finished the second one, which I think turned out pretty good. And it was an interesting surprise that at the end of it, I think I don't know if people like it, but I really liked the idea of doing that. And of course, he and I'm working on the third book, which is picks up where the second one left off, and still working on that, and that's that. And one thing I'm also mentioned that when writing that, I know that a lot of writers they do that. They get a lot of inspiration from wherever. In my case, a lot of because I'm a big avid moviegoer. I get a lot of inspiration from movies, TV shows, current events, you name it. A lot of it'll appear in my books. But you just have to read my books to find out. So until the next time, hopefully it won't be so long when I make another one of these. And from here I say, see you later. Bye.